Hello and welcome to Spring Office Hours, Season 3, Episode 18, Countdown to Spring I.O. My name is Dan Vega, Spring Developer Advocate at Broadcom, joined as always by my good friend DaShaun. DaShaun, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
And
Life is
as
good.
you can see, we have a special guest with us today, the one and only Sergi Almar. Sergi, how you doing, my friend?
Everyone, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here today. I'm really excited to join you in this hour. So it's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be a lot of fun, and we're talking everything Spring I/O, which is a little over 2 weeks away now. I can't believe that just kind of came out of nowhere.
It's like time flies. I mean, I started.
Maybe not for you. Maybe not for you, because I've put together events before, and I know time doesn't fly. It kind of like
it does at this stage, right? Because usually I start organizing Spring I/O around October. So we're in May already. It's like I had so much time, but now I feel I need more time, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, hey, before we get into everything Spring I/O, for anyone out there who doesn't know you, who haven't had a chance to meet you yet, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into putting together one of the biggest spring events in our community?
Sure. Well, I'm a passionate software engineer, as most of you, right, who started with Spring back in 2005, late 2005. And I fell in love with it, right? So, and since then, I've been using Spring everywhere, right, in all my projects and all my developments. And I also love teaching people, right? And one of the things I've been doing, right, as already 15 years and more than 15 years now, is basically teaching Spring, right? The official trainings and non-official trainings as well. But I've been combining development with teaching and traveling as well, traveling a lot, like you do. Right, especially before the pandemic, of course. But yeah, that's basically everything I do. Everything Spring, right? Development, teaching, right? And in 2010, I was like, well, maybe I could organize something, right? Like a small meetup, right? A small event around Spring. Because at that time, I was already delivering the official Spring trainings. I was part of a Java user group called Java Hispano. We were 40,000 members already, right? So it was a huge Java user group. So it was like, well, I have the community. I know the Spring engineers, right? We've met at conferences, been teaching the official trainings. So it's going to be really easy for me to just put these two together, right? So community and the Spring engineers. So let's build something, right? And that's how it all started back in 2010. Let's create an event, and it was a more local event for Spaniards mainly. But the first edition, 600 people signed up. It was a free event, right?
Wow.
It was I just did it at the university.
Yeah.
Like really low budget, almost no budget, right? So getting like some sponsors to pay for a couple of coffees and a sandwich, a really bad sandwich at the cafeteria from the university. But still, right, we made that happen, right? And 600 people is a decent number for a first edition, right? Well, of course, it was a free event, so only like 300, 400 showed up, and I have like 300 T-shirts from that edition at home, by the way. But I continued with the Spring I/O, right, in the following years. Actually, the first edition was called Spring to GX Day, right? But just because back in the days, the Spring source of VMware had a similar event, the name, I had to change the name to Spring I/O, right? So that was the second edition.
Last year, I think you asked for people to raise their hand if they were at the first event. And I just remember looking around, and for every hand, I was like, I'm so jealous. So
yeah,
very, very cool.
I think that, first editions were more local events, 2010, 2011, 2012. And I stopped doing it in 2013, right? It's so much work organizing a conference. And if anyone has been involved in just organizing a meetup, like a small thing, it's a lot of work, right? And of course, you have to do it in your free time, right? You are a developer, you enjoy coding, and then you have to organize these events. It takes a lot of your time, of course, right? So I kind of burned out, to be honest, at that time. Because it was a free event. People, and actually in the second year, it was like 20 euros, right? Just because I didn't want people to sign up and then don't show up, right? And of course, 20 years that doesn't cover for the T-shirt, the liners, the coffees, the sandwiches, and everything. But still, right? People were like, "Whoa, 20 euros for this event now." right? Because we had a culture of free events here in Spain, right? And this kind of comments at the end of the day, you're putting all your effort, all your time, then you kind of burn out, right? But yeah, it was important for me, right, to just bring the community together. And I stopped doing it 2 years, 2013 and 2014. But of course, I was involved in the Spring community. Going to Spring One as well was like I'm going to the US to meet all the Spring engineers. And in 2014, Jurgen in one of the Spring ones in Dallas, he was like, hey, you gotta get the Spring IO back. Yeah, I'm sold here, right?
Think about that one.
Way to twist your arm, huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, it was like a no-brainer, right, for me. But then I kind of changed the focus, right, to just make it more professional and also more international, right? So that's when I brought it home. The first editions were in Madrid because a friend of mine is a professor at the university. So I could use the venue for free, right, and all the facilities for free. But then I was like, okay, let's bring it home, which is Barcelona for me, which has has a really nice brand. Attracts a lot of people. We have good weather, good food, the beach and everything. May is not a bad time to be in Barcelona either, right? So
probably better than November, the last time I was there.
right. So it's not too hot, it's not too warm. No, it's not like too cold either. So it's like a good timing to be there, and it worked pretty well, right? So we got Spring IO back, right, with an international focus, attracting a lot of people from outside of Spain. And since then, right, everything has grown organically, and so I'm really happy about the community and how the community reacted to it. And I haven't made a Spring IO a success. I mean, the community has made a Spring IO a success, right? So the response of community, like sharing knowledge, right, and getting together, has made Spring IO what Spring IO is today. And I'm really happy about it, to be honest.
That's awesome. So I think we were talking before the show started, and I think as anyone who's ever put on an event, or like you said, even small events, if it's something that's kind of reoccurring, you have to you can't keep doing the same thing, right? You have to constantly take a look at the event, get the feedback from the community, and say, what are some things we can improve on? What are some things that we should change? And I know, talking to you before the show today, I think you had a little bit of a mind shift going into this year. And do you want to talk about some of those things that you wanted to kind of change going into this year?
Yeah, I always love feedback. It's really hard to get feedback. From the community sometimes, but anyway, right? Whenever I get some feedback, I really want to evaluate it, and if there's anything I can improve at Spring IO, I'm more than welcome to improve it, right? And one of the things that people were complaining about is, how do I connect with other fellow attendees, right? We're all here, I mean, for Spring, right? And we have some common ground for sure, right? Yeah. But if I go to a conference on my own with 1,200 people, it's kind of hard, right, to make these connections, right? Yeah. And I wanted to improve that. And again, for instance, when I've been to a wedding, and you go to a wedding and you don't know anyone, it's kind of weird, right? So you're there with your wife, but you don't know anyone. But if you go to a stock party before and you know a lot of the people that will be there at the wedding, well, going to the wedding is much easier, right? And that's basically what I did this year. I just created some side events. The first event will be more a community-focused event where we're going to explore the future of a Spring for the community. You don't have to be a Spring IO attendee. DaShaun will be there as well with us, awesome, right, with other folks. But yeah, that's basically to start going, right, and to start the vibes, the flow of a Spring IO. But then the day before the conference, we're going to have I call it the Spring IO Connect Mixer, where you basically attend the party, you get a drink, and then you can connect with other fellow attendees. And nice. What I'm going to provide is a bingo card, right, where you can have like people to connect with, like find a Spring committer, right, or find someone who's using NetBeans. There's always one in the room, right? So
there's always one. Find your favorite Spring Office Hours host.
Right. Yeah, that's another one. That's another one. But that will give you some icebreakers. It's like, hey, are you the NetBeans guy? Right? No. Right? But this will give you some
will get you talking to everyone if you have to go ask everyone if they use NetBeans.
A very cool idea. You know, I think about the last handful of conferences that I've been to, And I when what you're describing, like let's help people meet and engage. That's something that I would do for like a meetup. It's like, hey, make sure that you know this person. Oh, you guys both use NetBeans, right? Oh, you guys are both using, Karifi. Like you can do these kind of things, but it feels like that's a very close personal connection type of experience that I would expect at a meetup. I don't really think that I expect that from a big, amazing, globally recognized conference.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
that's
think
a
is that
really,
you make connections at this pre-event, so you can build on those
Yep.
connections during the event, right? So you know this guy is working on, I don't know, he's working on a project with Webflux. I'm interested in Webflux, for instance, or I don't know, he's actually using virtual threads already. I want to incorporate that into my projects. I don't know much about it, but maybe
Yep.
during the event, as you go through the sessions, they talk about virtual threads, and you can actually ask this person who has already experience, hey, what's your experience on this, right?
Yep.
That. So it's a way to make these connections and then build on top of these connections at the event. And I think that this is really powerful.
Yeah, and I think you pointed out this is an international event. And I mean, at least for me, I go to a lot of the same conferences here in the States, so I see a lot of the same people. One of the things I'm most excited about is to see a lot of the developers that I talk to online that I don't get to see at the conferences that I'm in the States, right? So yes, this is a perfect chance for me to meet people that I don't even know. So yeah, this is really
it is a meeting spot. For
Yeah.
sure. Like this is like, hey, I'll see you at Spring IO. This is where we're gonna go, and we're gonna, break out our laptops and
Yeah, you see a lot of conversations going like, hey, I know you from Twitter, right? So
Yes.
we all know each other from Twitter, but then talking to this person right in person, right? It's a completely different experience. The connection is different, right? And trust, you build trust this way, it's impossible, or it's more difficult to build trust online. So it's basically like making these like great connections, right? That will go beyond, or you'll have beyond the conference. And as we say, your network is your net worth, right? I love to say that as well.
Love it. Yes.
Right? And I think that's a perfect place, right, to grow your network, right? So yeah.
Yeah. So the mixer, this is going to be on Wednesday then, and the night before. Do you have a location for this? Where is this going to be?
Yeah, I mean, the location is in a district called Born, right? It's right in the center of Barcelona. Like really, cozy area with a lot of restaurants, a lot of places to go out as well.
Awesome.
So that will force you to explore another another area of the city, which I love, because sometimes you go to a conference, you just stay there, and nearby the venue.
Guilty.
And you don't know where to go, right? But if you're forced to go to a particular place, which is like a nice area, right, where you can spend some time, you can get lost on those streets in Barcelona. I mean, in the Born district, I mean, it's lovely. It's like kind of the old town, and you can get lost in this labyrinth, I would say, right, of the streets in Barcelona. So it's definitely a nice area to check. That's going to be there. It's going to be inside. It's called a palace, right? Called Palau Dalmases. And I think it's a great opportunity to go somewhere which is not the venue, the conference venue.
Jonathan pointed out that there is really good public transportation in Barcelona as well. That really makes it easy. That you can actually like get out of the house, get out of the hotel, get out of the conference a little bit, and check things out safely and pretty easily.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to bring up. So in November, that was my first time in Barcelona. Beautiful city. I didn't have enough time to really explore. So I guess for anyone coming to Barcelona for the first time, do you have any tips or tricks or things you have to see, things you have to do? What makes Barcelona so great?
Again, I would say the weather is great. The food is great, so you can enjoy at least at any time. But we have a lot of great tourist attractions, right? We have great architecture here. We have a lot of Gaudi buildings. I would say that you have to plan ahead, right? Because if you want to go see the Sagrada Familia, right, you have to get the tickets in advance. For instance, you cannot just say, "Hey, I want to go there," because there won't be any tickets left, right? And same applies to the Parkway and many other nice venues. So I would say plan ahead, right? Also, even if you want to go to like a nice restaurant, Barcelona is crazy, right? There are plenty of people, and we really enjoy going out, right? So also plan ahead where you want to go, get and eat as well. So plan your trip, right? And I would say plan the trip at different levels. Not only what you're going to be, what you want to visit, but also who do you want to meet at the event, right? So that's another important plan that you can make, I would say.
I think last year, I had several of these like, hey, yeah, like there's a group going over there, and here there's a bunch of places where you see these groups of all the people that were wearing the shoes last year. That's how you kind of find your people last year. But I think I had these big meals with 20, 30, and maybe even 40 people.
Tapas.
But I don't think I ever had a meal with you. And that's the thing, is like I met a ton of people. I just had to come back, right? Because there's so many more to meet. But having those meals, and again, the tapas is wonderful.
Yes.
We had a great dinner, Dan, last time here. You were here in Barcelona as well.
Yeah. Where we went to this restaurant where they cook the steaks and they like cook them almost done, but then they bring them out to you and they bring you out little grills and you had to like finish them on the grill by yourself, like little strips of it. Oh, it was delicious and a lot of great conversation at that meal. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, food and people, you can never go wrong with food and people. Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
And actually, just one last thing right on that. Because we have an app, right? And the app works really well in connecting people, right? And you'll see a lot of discussion groups appearing in the app, right? From people saying, hey, we're going out tonight. Who wants to join?
That's great.
Right? And
also, especially for those that don't want to raise their hand and say, hey, I'm here. I'm not from here. I want to go eat with a group of people. I think that's a really great idea. So
that's easy.
I've been that person before. So
I really liked the app experience last year for two reasons. As a audience member, I was able to ask my questions. I didn't, sometimes you forget the questions, but I was able to ask the speaker my questions during the event. And also there was that thread. There was the feedback from the other attendees, but then also as a speaker, having those conversations, having people being able to say, hey, for whatever reason, that was a blast. As that app experience was, again, that was something special that I don't think I've had.
As a speaker, you can get the questions before your session, so you can answer the questions right in your session or afterwards, right? So people can just ask a question after your session, because usually speakers are kind of busy after the session. Everyone wants to talk to the speaker, right? But you can get these async questions, which is great as well for the interaction with the attendees. Right?
That's really great. So if you are attending, please make sure you ask your questions. Speakers really love that. It gives you an idea of what questions people are going to have, and we can prepare a little bit more to answer those questions. But also, if you attend a conference, please, please, please provide feedback to speakers. It is valuable. We read them, we look at them, we dissect them, we go, how can we make this presentation a little bit better? So yeah, please get that feedback in if you're there as well.
Yeah, I think that constructive feedback is really valuable for speakers, right? And if there's any feedback provided by the attendees, I usually share that with the speakers. But yeah, after in each session, there is a feedback form that you can complete, right? So yeah, I'll encourage everyone to complete that form, because that's really, really valuable, right? At the session level, but also at the conference level, right? Feedback on anything, right? So you didn't like, I don't know, things that were going on at the conference. Yeah, we take that feedback always, right? Read the feedback and take that seriously. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. I wanted to kind of jump into the Spring.io website, talk a little bit more about some of the details for the conference, just for any of those people interested in attending or people who already are attending and wanted to find out a little bit more. First off, this website is beautiful. Did you do this yourself? I love this logo.
I'm not that talented. We developers, we don't know how to add even CSS, right?
So, I don't know. Sometimes I run across a unicorn who can do it all. I don't know if that was.
It's not my case. It's not my case. But I have a really talented designer. I've been working with him since 2009 in other projects, right? And since 2018, when I moved to the bigger venue, he has been designing everything for me for the conference, right? And every year people love the design, right? And I'm really happy with him. And when you find someone who you really connect,
Yep.
I mean, I don't even have to say anything. I mean, he comes up with an idea. It's like, boom. Yeah, that's what I had in mind. It's like, that's such a good experience,
I just love this logo. It kind of like brings everything of Barcelona out into into spring, if you will. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah. Well, actually, every detail has a meaning, right? A well thought meaning, right? In these designs, always, right?
Always.
Even if you don't say it, but there. I mean, every single pixel here has its own meaning, right? And we spend hours talking about all the design.
That's so cool. Yeah, I love it. It's really good. Okay, so the conference is on the 30th and 31st, right? So Wednesday is the kind of mixer. The 30th would be Thursday. The 31st is Friday. I know we have workshops too. Where do kind of workshops fall into this?
Yeah, workshops are on the 29th. So we have full day workshops. So this is a way to deep dive into several topics. So that's right before the conference. We have a bunch of them, right? Now, the most popular one is Spring AI. Who would have said that, right?
Who would have thought?
Yeah. But yeah, we have really good speakers here, actually. Yeah. And good workshops on different areas, themes, right? Observability, right? Persistence, security, right? AI, of course, right? We have also another sponsored workshop by Microsoft, completely free, right? If you want to attend that one. So that's going to happen the day before the event. So it's going to be 9 to 5. So you have a time to rest a little bit and then go to the event, the Spring IO Connect Mixer.
I'm not just saying this because you're on right now, but this is one of the most impressive lineups of workshops I've seen. And I know our friend Jonathan's on right now.
Real.
Jonathan and Tommy are going to give a deep dive into observability with Spring Boot 3. That is amazing.
Yep.
Fast and scalable persistence with Thorben. I mean, that would be in and of itself worth the conference. Our friend Thomas Vitale is going to be talking about securing the supply chain, Spring AI, securing your applications with. These are all
workshops that I would like to attend.
Yes, for sure.
You know what? When I organized the Spring IO, I'm like, I'm going to organize the conference I want to attend.
Yes.
But I cannot attend. That's
Yeah.
It's a downer, right? Because I'm there, but I cannot even attend a session. So I have to spend I don't know how many days after the conference going through the videos on YouTube, right? And catching up with those sessions because they are all so good that.
And here's something else that's amazing that maybe not everybody knows. This is kind of a one-man show. I watched how busy you are. You're trying to connect the dots and somebody needs a backpack over here. I've seen how busy you are. So I'm not surprised that you don't get to see any sessions because I have watched you race around the event. But I don't think that everybody realizes that how much work you do to make this event happen on your own.
Yeah, I mean, I always say that on the day of the event, my job is done, right? I've done everything to bring everyone together, and everything flows, right? As long as there are no technical issues whatsoever, my job is done on the day of the event. Which just and everything usually runs so smooth because the community is so friendly, open-minded, welcoming, right? I mean, the vibe is great, right? I don't have to do anything right during the conference, to be honest.
You just get to kick back, relax, and watch all the happiness happen.
Yeah.
So we talked. It's on the 30th and 31st. I've been seeing the numbers. I follow you. I follow the account on Twitter that says hey, we're 70% of the way there, 80% and 88% of the way there. We still have tickets available, right? We're still able to get tickets if we're listening, if we're watching this live stream.
We have the last tickets available. It's going to sell out soon, I would say, right? So we are now, let's say, we have probably like 50 tickets left or a little bit more. Depends
Wow.
on where I close, right? Because
Yep.
the catering told me last year that, well, we are at capacity when we reach at 1,200, but I think that we can push it a little bit more, right? Always challenging everyone. So we'll see whether I just make it like 1,200 or I'll push it a little bit more, right? To squeeze some more people, because it didn't feel right like a lot of people. I think that we still have room to grow a
Okay,
little
good.
bit at least.
Because I feel like I need to get at least one more ticket, so I have a little bit of time. I have a little bit of
Yeah,
time.
because
I
you know
won't
what
wait too
happens
long.
when the conference sells out. I mean, I think I realized that I have so many friends, right? That people are like, hey, emailing me. It's like, hey, is there any
Yeah.
chance to get another ticket? So I need some buffer there to
Yeah.
accommodate
Hey,
some.
I know it's sold out, but come on, it's me.
Yeah.
I have a
That's
question
awesome.
for you. This it's a labor of love, right? Like you're doing this on top of everything else, and I have to. It feels like you've got to get some really heartwarming experiences out of this, and I'm wondering what are some of the things that have happened that filled your heart, filled your cup, energized you? What are some of the experiences that you think of when you look
It's
back?
always it's all about people, right? But I had several attendees, several speakers that would join the Spring team afterwards, right? Making these connections, making these things happen, right? Really, motivates me, right? In doing it over and over again, right? And to be honest, right? It's so much work, and I am a developer. I like developing, right? Organizing Spring IO takes a lot of my development time, right? And like, I wish I could spend more time developing at this stage, right? What am I doing this? But then when Spring IO comes, it's like, oh, I know what I'm doing this.
Yeah.
This is, we need this. We have to continue with this, right? That's my love. But yeah, having sponsors, for instance, hey, we came to Spring IO, we made a lot of connections. We have now really big clients, right, with us, right?
Yep.
Or knowing that people have connected with some other people, right, that have helped, right, in their career. Hey, I made several connections here, and that has bumped my career, right? That pushed my career, right? And these are
It's
like, there are a lot of stories and experiences. I would love everyone who has a story at
yeah.
Spring IO to share it, right? Because I can't remember all of them, but certainly there are a lot of them that you say, hey, that's really worth it.
It's such a big part, a piece of, or like a component of going to a conference, right? Like we all want to learn, like we're going there to learn, but man, DaShaun and I have talked about this a lot on the show. It's just the connections that I made with people in the community, not just at conferences, but just in general, but especially at conferences, have really like helped my career. Like I can't think of a single like great thing that has happened in my career that wasn't because of me being out there and like making a connection with someone. And I'm not the most like outgoing person, but hey, you're at a tech conference with your people, go up and say hi, go up and say hi to a speaker, thank them for their talk, go sit down with someone at lunch and just start talking to them. You never know what's going to happen from that.
That's another observation that I made about this conference. I, whatever. I'm a Spring developer. Like that's a big part of my identity. And for this conference, I felt like everybody around me was a Spring developer. I felt like the number of backpacks, right? A lot of the conferences I go to, and don't get me wrong, I like dealing with decision makers and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of conferences, there's a much broader range of people that maybe
You got
I
to
don't
find your
connect with.
people.
Yeah, and this conference, I find my people. Like everybody's got
You
a
throw a
backpack,
rock and
everybody's
get
ready to pull up a chair, roll up their sleeves.
Yeah.
It is, that's a big, something that I've noticed about this conference is the attendees, that group, finding your people. This is definitely the group. This is definitely the place. If you identify as a Spring developer, this is probably a really good place to be.
Cool.
And I consider myself like an introvert as well, right? But I'm like most of us.
Yeah.
But I realized that it's actually worth it, right, to make these connections happen, right? And I would encourage everyone, even if you're an introvert, right, to try to make these connections. It's really easy to just go to conference and feel like, I don't want to talk to anyone. But hey, it's like a couple of days where you can make like connections that are going to mean a lot for you, for sure, right? And you never know who you're going to meet. Maybe that connection is not going to, you're not going to use that connection today, but maybe in a year, I don't know, that's going to help you land your next job, or I don't know, right? So it's always good actions. Again, I'm going to repeat it again, right? So your network is your net worth.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so we're gonna have roughly 1,200 people, maybe more, depending on how many tickets you want to go over and how upset you want to make the caterers. We have 70 speakers, 60 talks, 7 workshops. How hard? I always love talking to conference organizers. You have 70 speakers here and 60 talks. What is that process like of putting that CFP out there and getting all these submissions and trying to get down to these 70 speakers and 60 talks? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, this year we're going to have more about 80 speakers, a little bit more talks as well. But yeah, the CFP is one of the toughest things, right, for me, because you see so many talented people, right, sending really good talks that it's hard to decide, right? And sometimes these talks even overlap with each other, right? So you have 2 speakers which are great, and they are going to talk about the same. And it's like, how can I make it a choice here, right? I mean, it's almost impossible, right? And one thing that I would like to say is that if you submit it to Spring.io, thank you. Right, first of all, because I know that it takes a lot of time to craft an abstract, right, to think about an idea, and also a lot of courage to submit, right, to Spring.io. So thank you, first of all, because I take all the submissions really seriously, and I really appreciate every one of you submitting to Spring.io. But yeah, then it's a really tough process. I have to say, I'm the only one selecting talks. We'll see whether that will change in the future or not. But so far, I've been doing the selection to what I think is going to be a conference. Not only the latest and greatest, but also some community talks as well. I think that is really important to have a balance on. I don't know. Here's the state of the art, but also here's what the community is doing. How are they using a Spring and so on. But it's kind of tough to balance this, and sometimes you just have to reject submissions, not because they're not good, right? Just because there's no more room in there, right? And I would love to have them, but yeah, and I feel bad, right? It's
it's an easy solution. Maybe you haven't considered it. Just make your conference longer, so you can have more sessions.
Yes, we would like to spend a week in Barcelona, please.
That could be an option. Yeah, that we can consider. But it's one of the hardest things at the conference, like choosing the talks that are going to be at the conference, because again, right? So there are a lot of talented people, and you want everyone to be at the conference, right? All the sessions are here, and now you're in the sessions page. All the sessions are here. I'm going to publish the agenda, which I have finished tomorrow, right? I kind of late on that this year.
That's exciting.
But tomorrow,
I was going to ask you about that today.
Yeah, no, it's already done. I'm going to publish that tomorrow and send the email tomorrow. So you're going to see, right? And actually, it's kind of I don't know why our brain does that to us, but when you see the talk as all the talks as list, it's harder to process them as if you see them in a schedule. Right? When you see them in the schedule, it's like everything makes sense, right? So yeah, tomorrow you can have all the schedule, but all the talks are here, and you'll see that we have a mix. There are a lot of talks coming from the Spring engineers, but also a lot of talks coming from the community. I think it's good, and I try to have new faces at the conference always.
Venkat's here. You announced that like a little bit ago, but wow, that's pretty cool.
You know how many years I tried
yes.
to have Banker at the conference. He's so busy. And even a year in advance, he's like, "Oh, I'm busy on that on the week. I have a training on that week." It's like, okay, let's try next week. Yeah. And yeah, this week it worked out. This year it worked out. So pretty happy about it.
So the agenda comes out tomorrow. That means for me, I'll start planning my agenda. I'll start scheduling
Yeah.
which one am I going to go see, and then I'll start asking. So, are you going to be at this one? Because for two reasons, like I want to make sure that I pick the right ones, and then also if there's like something else I wanted to make sure. Hey Dan, are you going to go to this one? You should go to this one so I can get your notes.
Cool.
So
Is that something you can do in the app? Like, how do you organize your agenda?
Yeah, I'm going to publish it here on the website, but in the app you have also the agenda. You can build your own agenda, mark the
Awesome.
sessions you're interested in. You'll see how many people is interested in that particular session as well.
Oh, that's great.
So that gives you like kind of a feeling on how popular that session will be. And again, you can start sending questions to that session, right? And I plan on sending the email about the app next week, so you can start creating these discussion groups before the conference.
Cool.
Also signing up for the events, the pre-conference events. So that will give you, the next level planning tool that you need, right, for Spring IO.
That's really great. Yeah, DaShaun, we'll have to as soon as we get those in, we'll have to kind of share those out on the show as well. Some of the sessions that we're really interested in seeing. So we have this list here of all the different sessions. We'll have the schedule tomorrow. You don't need to call out any specific talk, but you said you really like kind of planning a conference for something you'd be interested in seeing. Maybe not a specific talk, but are there subjects? Are there like certain things that you're really interested in learning about this year?
Yeah, well, certainly, because I deliver trainings, right? And one thing that we usually have in trainings is that we want to have a solid foundation. I want to teach, all the basics, everything that actually works. And when I go to a conference, I want to know about what's going on, right? The different things that I might or might not use, and all the state of the art of the technology, right? And that's what I expect from a conference. So certainly everything new on Spring Boot 3.3 and Spring Boot 3.3 will come out right before the conference, right? And I think that the conference-driven development works pretty well, right? So all the new stuff that has been done, and you have several new features that are worth checking. Also, new projects like Spring AI, that's going to be like a really important one, right? We have a couple of sessions by the commuters from Spring AI, introducing Spring AI. We have another session by Thomas Vitale, also on Spring AI, probably more practical, right? And several other sessions will use also AI in some form and shape, right? So Spring AI is also something that you should check. Spring Monolith, that is another one, right? We have Cora covering that. We have a session from Cora, and we have also a workshop by the community, right? So we have that covered. This will make its appearance also probably in the keynote, right? So the keynote, I would say it's a place where you're going to sense what's going on in the Spring ecosystem, right? So we'll have some like new stuff. We'll also have probably I'm not going to reveal that here. So let's,
you gotta come. You gotta register.
Also, we have several sessions on how to build these production-grade Spring applications, right? So what are the tricks and tips that you should take into account when building this production-grade application? I'm also really looking forward to that, because we know, the state-of-the-art new stuff, but how do we effectively use all this technology, right, to go to production, right? That's also another interesting topic, right? And we have other topics like persistence. I mean, everyone needs persistence in some form, right? So this is not like a really fun topic usually, but it's something that's really useful for our daily jobs as well.
One of the things I've been saying a lot lately is we've got a lot more decisions to make. Our menu, our decision tree is much bigger than it was 10, 15 years ago, right? There's so many more things that we have to take into consideration. And a couple of milliseconds here, a couple of milliseconds there, those kind of things can add up to a really bad decision. So we have more decisions to make to even get started. The path of production might look different depending on the other decisions that you've made. So getting that fundamentals, the groundwork on those types of things, I see that as being really valuable.
Yeah.
This is a
I
great
think that a
place to do
conference
it.
is really the place to go to explore new stuff and learn about all this new stuff, right? So it's like, hey, what is this CDS? What is native? What is all this stuff? Yeah, sorry about that. But it's like it's a place to discover the trends, what's going on, explore different technologies, and see whether it's a good fit for your project or not, right? But it's actually a way to get exposed to all this stuff that
Yeah.
otherwise it's going to be really hard, right, to discover probably.
Man, Sebastian Deleuze is giving a talk on that too, that efficient containers with Spring Boot 3, Java 21, and CDS. Sebastian is just a wealth of knowledge. So really looking forward to that talk.
It's going to be a good one.
Anything you're looking forward to that's on your radar, DaShaun, that you're really excited to see?
That's it. That's honestly,
Yeah.
that's the number one thing for me. Again, I don't want to like spoil any announcements, but I think there's going to be some other interesting things around the CDS.
Yeah.
But also, I'm a fan of, getting to production and production, enterprise grade, production ready features like the SBOM support that's coming with 3.3. It doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, but it's kind of a big deal, right? I look at that and put it in that same bucket as here's what's running in production and here's how easy it is to get to. There's just, the production ready features that are coming. I'm a big fan. Those are probably my top two.
Yeah, I saw another one too that kind of stands out for me that, something we deal with a lot of customers is being able to kind of look at that upgrade path to move to Java 21 or move from an older version of Spring to a newer version. And there's an automated software refactoring with open rewrite and generative AI with both Tim and Jonathan. So that is going to be interesting to see. I know every customer we would talk to has the same kind of story, like how can we make that upgrade path easier? So interested in seeing that.
There's another one by the community unveiling the path to Spring Boot 3 at the most important tech company you've never heard of. Again, right? So having people from the community like explain the experience and how they upgrade to Spring Boot 3, the challenges they faced, that's also really valuable, right? And that's the great thing about the Spring IO, that you basically have a lot of community talks, basically telling the experience like, hey, how did we make this production ready, right? Or what are the challenges we face when going native, for instance, or what are the challenges that we face when upgrading to Spring, right?
Yeah.
So these are really, really valuable learning experience from the community that are going to be shared there.
DaShaun,
you're going to be speaking. What are you speaking on?
I'm going to be speaking about Spring Boot on the edge.
Ooh, living on the edge.
Talking about getting to production. Production, is different for a lot of folks. Depending on what you're doing, depending on your workloads. I'm a believer in there's going to be more Spring workloads being deployed outside of the data center and outside of the public clouds. The next 5 years, they're going to be, to the light poles, into the street signs and all that kind of stuff, and in your cars and your vehicles.
The Raspberry Pi in your closet behind you.
The hundreds of Raspberry Pis, right? There's going to be, and I see it, right? I'm working with customers that this is what they're doing, and they're doing really interesting things on minimal compute, and because of the new capabilities that we have with Spring, we're able to do it on smaller devices and still have all the power of enterprise grade, production ready Spring Boot. So I'll be covering that. How about you? What are you talking about?
I'm talking on the front end landscape. So one of the things we've talked about this on a couple episodes ago, if you're a Spring developer and you want to go build a front end for your application,
for your conference,
as Sergi said, some of us are lost when it comes to the front end. So my session is really to kind of just cover the landscape of things. Like, you got to build a front end. What are your choices? So we'll look at JavaScript frameworks. We'll look at how to build it in Java using something like Vaadin or Hilla. We'll look at something like HTMX, which is kind of in between that, right? Just a way to add some dynamic capabilities to your application, and then kind of round it out by like, when do you choose which path do you go in certain situations? So, and I did want to mention, we were looking at sessions, workshops earlier, and on the front it doesn't show it, but I wanted to show it here. Our good friend Thomas, who is here every week, is doing a workshop on building server-side web applications with HTMX. So I'll be talking a little bit about HTMX in mine, but he's going to be talking about it for 2 hours. So if you're around and want to learn more about that, Thomas is a wealth of knowledge in that area, in all areas, but he really knows his stuff in HTMX. So definitely go check that out.
I know, I talked to him earlier today. He's been putting in a lot of work. He's taken his workshop for a run and he's practicing it. And I think he actually has a couple of events coming up this week where he's kind of opening it up and just trying to get some good reps in, get good practice in with the community. So if you're going to be in his workshop, like, be prepared. I think he's going to be 10 out of 10. I highly recommend.
He has a lot of content built for that. And actually, we're going to run through the workshop tomorrow, right? On one-on-one.
Yeah. Awesome.
Tomorrow. And also, he's going to run that with the community right afterwards as well. So to make sure that he has a good 2-hour session, right? Condensed, right? So really valuable.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a big deal. I'm preparing for this. I'm very, very excited, and I want to impress. So I'm putting in a lot of work on this.
It's funny you guys bring that up. Last week on the show, I talked to Daniel from the Spring Security team. He's doing a talk on Spring Security architecture, and I said, Daniel, you always look so polished up there. Like, you are so good at live coding. Like, you just like a wizard with like shortcuts. And he's like, it's no secret. He's like, I practice it over and over again. And then 2 times the day before I give it. So like, it is very important. Like, if you want to get good at this, there is no secret sauce, he said. You just gotta, you just gotta keep practicing and rehearsing and have it down so that when something goes wrong, which it will, you've already seen that. You'll know what's going to go wrong and you'll be ready for it. So to all the speakers out there who are going to Spring AO, get those reps in.
And that's one of the talk I'm really interested in as well, right? Because Spring Security is really hard, right? And knowing the architecture, when I spent a lot of time with the CG security back in the days, right? So knowing the nitty gritty and all the low level details, but when you actually understand what's going on, it's really easy to tweak it, customize it, right? Extend it, right? It's really powerful, a lot of extension points. And I think that knowing the architecture is really, really valuable. Actually, some years ago, we had a similar talk by Joe Granja, right? That was really, really well received. And actually, the Spring Security Architecture article that we have on the Spring AO website, even if it's not updated to the new APIs, is also really, really good, right? And at least when I deliver the trainings, that's one of the things that people struggle with, right? Because this is something that, everything is already set up, right? And you want to change something and you're lost, right? So really good sessions on Spring Security. Also for testing Spring Security, we have another session, right? Also passwordless applications, right? Another session on that.
And good luck finding a handful of people that know more about Spring Security than Daniel. So
so he is the perfect person for that.
I'm interested in talking to you more about security. Again, I can reach out to the Spring Security team, but I would love to get your, maybe not today, like some sense of what you see, what people are struggling with, because Spring Security is one of those buckets that my perception is that once you understand the naming parts, it's easier to kind of guess where things are going to be and what you need. I know that one of the problems that I've seen is the change. We've made it simpler. The Spring team has made it simpler, so you don't look for a one-to-one. This is my number one rule right now: is you don't look for a one-to-one replacement when you're upgrading from previous versions to the latest. But that's a definite problem that I'm interested to hear more and get some tips and tricks on how you're helping people adapt to the latest.
I actually created a Spring Security training for VMware as well, a 2-day training, because people struggle with Spring Security, right? But when you understand it, it's such a powerful framework, right? Gives you everything you need.
Cool. Before we wrap up, we'll kind of go into some closing thoughts of this, but I do want to mention one thing that I found, probably a month or so ago, and I just wanted to get your input on it. You started this new website called springbuilders.dev. Can you tell us a little bit about this and kind of what the inspiration was for getting this started?
Yeah. So I put a lot of effort in Spring IO, right? That's an in-person event, and I do believe, right, in in-person events, being like conferences, being training, right, any form and shape of in-person events, right? So I think that they give you like experience that you can't have right for with online events. However,
Mhm.
a Spring IO will be over, right? You come to Spring IO, and Spring IO will be over, sadly, right? And all good things come to an end. We know that, right? But then what? Right? So how do we connect, right? And we need a place, right? Before, back in the days, we had the Spring forums, right? They are gone, sadly, right? Because well, we had something called the Stack Overflow that will kind of replace that, right? Um, but I think that we can have a place, right? Like we have for in-person meetings, like Spring IO, but for the offline or interaction, right? And that's how I came up with the Spring Builders, right? I've been kind of busy with Spring IO.
Yes.
I'll try to push it a little bit more right afterwards, but that's the idea, right? So Spring IO is the place to go, right, for in-person meetings and knowing people. Spring Builders is the place to share the knowledge, right? And not only the knowledge, but also share your experience, ask for help, right? And I guess that, the dev.2 website,
Yep.
dev.2 is actually, this is using Forum, as you see here on the left-hand side. This is actually an open source project that powers the dev.2
I was gonna say
uh,
I did get a very dev.2 vibe out of this.
because it's actually the same project, right? Powering it,
Cool.
right? And
That's awesome.
it's a really powerful platform, I would say, right? From an admin perspective, it has everything you need. And I thought that it was a good a good solution, even if it says that it's built on Ruby on Rails, right? And some people might make fun of it, but it's actually a really good solution, I would say. It's open source, right? It has everything for the community. It's tested, right, by the dev.2 community already.
Yeah.
And again, right, and DaShaun, you were mentioning, when you come to Spring IO, you feel right at home because everyone is a Spring developer, right? We have other websites like even Dev.2 is a really popular website, but
Sure.
again, you have to kind of filter the content to maybe what's Java or Spring related, right? But
Yep.
then you'll have, I don't know, .NET and many other languages in there as well, right? But Spring Builders is right the place to go for Spring content, right?
Yeah.
And I would like to see that.
Here's
And if you
another
go into
piece.
this podcast section, look at this. Look at these beautiful people here.
All right. One of the
That's awesome.
things that I noticed years ago was that the Spring team is amazing. But I look at the Spring team and I get goosebumps when I say this. Like, they made an impact, right? It was exciting.
Yeah.
And the reason that we fell in love with it is because it made our lives easy. It made it so that the boring boilerplate stuff, we got to do less. And we got to get more things into production, and we got faster feedback loops and all these good things. But there's another level, right? We all have the projects that we were taking to production, and we all got excited when Spring Data Pulsar came out, or some of us did, right? And when those new projects came out, we got excited about the people that brought it to us. And the thing that I noticed was different developers have different favorites on their team. So if Spring is your favorite team, just like it is mine, you might like a Josh, or you might like a Jurgen or a Spencer. Everybody has kind of their own favorite player, right? Just like my soccer team, right? You have your favorite player on the soccer team, but it's not always the same. And this is a nice, having that community, having those different people that you can kind of lean into, right? You're still going to filter your content. We all like Spring, but then you're going to have like your favorite. Here's where I spend my time: Spring Data or Spring Security.
Also,
Something cool.
I would say that as a community, right? I mean, my way to give back to the community is by like organizing Spring IO, for instance, and making things for the community. But there are like different shapes and forms of contributing, right, to community, right? And it's really easy to consume only, right? But as a community, you want to grow. It's all about sharing, right? And there are different ways to do that. You can just go to a meetup and do like a local talk. You don't have to come to Spring IO, right? So you might be kind of maybe too much intimidating, right? Sometimes, but there are different ways, right, to basically contribute to a community. Maybe write an article, right? That's something that you can do, because we are all working with the Spring. You all have experiences, and your experience might benefit someone else, right? So why not sharing that experience, right? This could be something you can share on Spring Builders, for instance, right? Like going to a local jug, for instance, right? So I would encourage everyone to share, give back to community, because we have taken so much from the community. I mean, at least for me, I mean, Spring has been giving me everything, right? And I'm so excited about the community, and so I want to give back.
That's awesome. We have a question here. Very interested in a few topics. Will some of these sessions be available online?
All of them, right? This is free knowledge, right? So we are going to publish everything on our YouTube channel, right? And you'll see in our YouTube channel the sessions from previous years as well. So after the conference, I'll try my best to upload them right as fast as I can.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I think that's all I got. DaShaun, any kind of closing thoughts? Actually, I'll get it from both of you. We've talked about it a lot throughout this talk today, but any kind of closing thoughts on how to make Spring IO or even your next conference a successful one? What can you do to make this trip a successful one?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. So I would say, right, again, right, planning ahead, right? And again, you can just come to the conference and not take advantage of it, or you can come and say, hey, I'm interested in meeting this, and this people, right? I also want to go to this session, right? So again, next week, I'm going to send an email with the app, and if you get it, right, and you're coming to Spring IO, download the app, start creating these discussion groups, start planning, right, the interaction you will have at the Spring IO. Come to the Spring IO Connect Mixer, mix with these people, know these people, and then when you're at the conference, you'll take like full, you can leverage all these connections right there, right? So I would say this is the number one thing that you have to do this year, for sure. Awesome. And then having fun, right? So we're at the conference, we're here to learn, but build on these connections and then have fun after the event, right? So you can mix both knowledge and fun. That's going to be even better, right?
Yep.
But if you don't have those connections, it's going to be kind of hard. Sorry.
Yeah, no, like, I think that's great. I was going to say, first, plan, like, give yourself a plan. My second piece of advice is the plan it can change. I try to lean into the conversations, right? I was sitting in Rob Wench's presentation last year, and the person that was next to me, we became instant friends. We both had our laptops out. We were trying to keep up with what was going on, and we were having a conversation. And when it was done, and I actually ran into you on the way when I was going to go to the next one, but I decided to stop and hang out with my new friend and take advantage of the time that I had in person versus, getting to that next talk that I had on my schedule. So that's my second piece of advice, is let it be flexible. And if you've got a chance to build a connection or build a relationship, lean into that. That's my advice.
Awesome. Well, Sergi, this was a lot of fun. We really, really appreciate you taking some time with us. We know you're down to the wire here with the last 2 weeks, so we wish you all the best of luck of getting this put together. And I can't wait to be in Barcelona, hanging out with you, learning all of the things. It's going to be such a fun conference, and I can't wait. I've never been, so I'm really, really excited about this. Again, bravo to you for putting this on for so many years. We really appreciate everything you do for the community.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for having me here. I'm really excited to have you again at the conference as well, and everyone at the conference. We're going to have a really international audience, so most of the community, right, will be represented in some form and shape at the event, right? So we have 85% of the people from outside Spain, right? So only 15% Spaniards, coming from 45 different countries. So certainly a really diverse audience at the Spring IO. 45.
45 different countries.
That's great.
Wow.
So
awesome.
Amazing.
All right. Well,
we will. Looking forward to it.
We are going to have some fun. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag yet, but we have another speaker next week. We will get that scheduled. It's going to be a lot of fun. He's always in chat here, so maybe that's a little bit of a clue, but yeah, we're gonna have a good talk next week with another speaker who's gonna be speaking at Spring IO. And then we will be at Spring IO. We're going to do a live podcast from Spring IO.
Yes.
You could find us at the booth. We'll figure out when we get that scheduled and where and when it's going to be, and we'll make sure we let everybody know. But all the things Spring IO, seriously, just can't wait. These 2 weeks can't go fast enough, except for you, I'm sure, Sergi. All right,
Indeed,
with that,
indeed.
Wait, we got one
Yep.
more thing. I think that we want to make sure because it's happening today. Let me bring this up. I didn't want to forget. Our good friends are putting on an event
Good point.
later
Yes,
today.
thank you.
So Microsoft Reactor, you can register for free. Here, I'll put the link in the chat. But yeah, check it out. AI is happening, whether you like it or not. And there's a ton of good information.
we like it.
It's happening. Yeah. So I just want to make sure we got that in there.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for remembering that. That's going to be a great talk later today. All right. With that, thanks again, Sergi. And we will see you in Barcelona. Everyone else, if you don't have a ticket yet and you can make it, go get a ticket before they sell it, before Sergi gets to that point where he's got to go over 1,200 and you got to buy him some cookies or something. Get them now. So, all right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Thanks, everybody. See ya.
Thanks.